Welcome back to the Off the Ball podcast. I'm your host, Clay Tillman, and on today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the Thursday night game of the Buccaneers versus Falcons. This was an absolute party of a game. Score is 36-30. Falcons won, but it went into overtime, and it was just an NFL classic. Back and forth scoring, a division game. This is going to be a very tight division. I'll get to that in a little bit. But these are two very competitive teams who are in the same division, who are fighting for a division title. It was completely offensive, and it was chunk play after chunk play, and both teams scored on the first opening drives, and immediately I knew that this was going to be a sitting on the edge of my seat, my jaw dropped type of game. And it was fantastic. Kirk Cousins threw a touchdown pass to Kadarius Hodge in overtime to win the game. Perfect pass. Just incredible job from Kirk Cousins last night. But it was a beautiful pass. And they won the game in overtime. It was exciting, and these two teams will meet again in Tampa Bay next time. And once it comes January or December, man, I wouldn't be surprised if these two teams are neck and neck when it comes to getting closer to the postseason. But Kirk Cousins last night was incredible. He was 42 for 58, an unbelievable percentage, and he made 42 freaking completions. Threw for 509 yards. That is his career high for 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. Unbelievable game from him. I've never seen really anything like it from Kirk Cousins. I've said this multiple times in my podcast, but Kirk Cousins is someone who's consistent, who they pay him big money. The Falcons paid him big money for a big reason, and this game really shows why they gave him that money. And everybody's like, man, they drafted they drafted Michael Penix Jr. Man, they have 2 great quarterbacks. Michael Penix, a top 10 pick in the NFL draft this past offseason. But Penix being able to sit behind a veteran quarterback like Kirk Cousins, who did well with the Commanders, the guy who's like, you like that type of guy. And in Minnesota, he did very well, brought them to the postseason multiple times, had Justin Jefferson behind him, and played under a pretty good coaching staff. I think they have a better coaching staff after Kirk left. But he was able to make the Vikings successful. Stephon Diggs and him were very successful as well. But Kirk in the NFC North made their team competitive, especially with a team like the Packers. They butted heads multiple times when Kirk and Aaron Rodgers would go up against each other. But Kirk comes to the Atlanta Falcons. They draft a quarterback, but man, Penix sitting behind a veteran like Kirk Cousins is great for him. And this game and I believe for the remainder of the season, Penix will see how good Kirk is. He's really helped this team become successful, and he's a big reason they are successful right now, and they could potentially win this division. Last year, Tampa brought the title home in the NFC South, but I believe the Falcons have a high chance to do so. Drake London, he had 12 receptions, 154 yards, 1 touchdown. He played very, very well. And Darnell Mooney, the Atlanta Falcons pick him off from the Chicago Bears. And the first season of Darnell Mooney's career in his rookie season, he played very well. But his last 2 seasons with Chicago weren't very good. He didn't have many. He just didn't. He wasn't their wide receiver one. DJ Moore comes in and they really just were in a rebuilding mode, got a new quarterback, so they got rid of Darnell Mooney. He comes to Atlanta with a veteran quarterback, Kirk Cousins, and he's made himself very successful. Kirk Cousins has been a big part of that. He had 9 receptions last night for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then at the end, like I said, Kadarrell Hodge had 2 receptions, 67 yards, but had 1 touchdown, and that was in the overtime. And overall, I think Kirk is such a clutch player. The Falcons have trailed in the final minute in all of their 3 wins this season. And I give big props to Kirk. I think Kirk has done this a lot his career. He's very clutch. I think Younghoe Koo, their kicker as well, is a very good. He's one of the best kickers in the league today. He had a 50-yard field goal in overtime, and he's kicked multiple 50-yard field goals in his career, and he has been very accurate and successful in those areas. But Kirk, man, he's able to get down the field, chunk play after chunk play, his vision is unbelievable, able to find those guys down the field. And it really helps with a guy like Drake London, who's big, and Kyle Pitts, who had a great game last night, who's freaking 6'6", where Kirk is able to even see him anywhere down the field because how tall he is, and Darnell Mooney and how quick he is as well. He's just able to find them down the field and was able to get down the field as fast as possible within that minute to end up kicking a field goal into overtime. But just the way Kirk is able to drive his team down the field with seconds remaining, gets to, I believe it was like the 30 or 35 yard line, spike it with 1 second left, and then Younghoe Koo goes ahead and kicks a field goal to send him in overtime. But man, the fact that Kirk is just able to do something like that, it shows his veteranship, and it shows the way he just plays ball. And then it reminds me of like a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's been clutch his whole career, the GOAT of Hail Marys. But being able to play in crunch time and under pressure, we saw that a lot from Kirk last night. And this was the first time in NFL history that a team has done so, has won 3 games within a minute of play, and they broke history last night. And like I said, Kirk is well deserved that money. Man, he's helping his team win, and that $180 million that he got is well deserved. This is Kirk's 6th time he has thrown for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns in prime time games, and this is tying Mahomes and Peyton Manning, one future Hall of Famer and one already Hall of Famer top 5 quarterback. So Kirk is already looking like and playing like a future Hall of Famer. He probably won't make it one day, but man, he's been consistent and clutch his whole career. So Atlanta Falcons, man, you got a really, really good quarterback, and I'm excited to see what they can do in the remainder of the season. And I'm excited for the next rematch between Tampa and the Falcons, because I believe it's going to come down to the last 3 weeks to see who clutches the division title. And I believe it's going to be Tampa or Atlanta. Like I said, Drake London, dominant performance. 3 of his 400-yard games have come against Tampa Bay. So historically he is a great player when he goes up against Tampa Bay. Like I've noted, Darnell Mooney how he's quick, he's young, he's athletic, and was able to perform very well, and has showed to Atlanta that he will probably stay there as their wide receiver. Wasn't the most successful player under Fields and the Chicago Bears, but has definitely found his home in Atlanta under Kirk Cousins. And if he stays there, Michael Penix Jr. will be their future quarterback, hopefully in a couple years. But right now, sitting under such a good quarterback in who Kirk Cousins is. And like I said, Kyle Pitts had 7 catches last night for 88 yards. And this is his best game since last year. I believe it was last October where he had about 11 catches, 87 yards. He has not been their number one guy for a lot of their games, majority of their games. He had a good rookie season, but since then, he has just not been their number one guy. Drake London comes in. They now have Darnell Mooney. Kyle Pitts is a great tight end, in my opinion. I think he's underrated. They need to give him the ball more. He's 6'6". He's huge. He's one of the best tight end, or not best, but he's one of the tallest, if the tallest tight end. I believe he is the tallest tight end in the league. But he is big, and Kirk Cousins finally gave him some targets, and he was able to catch them, and he had a good game, the best game he had since last season. So overall, Falcons did a heck of a job. Moving over to Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield was 19 for 24, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. Man, this was a quarterback game. Both quarterbacks combined for 7 touchdowns each. Unbelievable. Mike Evans, 5 receptions, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns, had his 100th touchdown last night. Not his 100th receiving touchdown. It was his 99th receiving touchdown, but 100 touchdowns overall. Man, he has had an exceptional career. He's been with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers his entire career, and he has made himself a future Hall of Famer. Has had multiple, if his whole career, over 1,000 yards each season, and has just surpassed the 100 mark for touchdowns. So he has made a mark in his career, and he has just been unbelievable for Tampa Bay. And he is playing some incredible ball lately. And Sterling Shepard had 1 touchdown last night as well. Great half for Tampa Bay, but a bad second half for them. Mayfield in the first half was 13 for 16 on 131 yards and 3 touchdowns. Man, you can't get any better than that. Only 3 incompletions and had 3 touchdowns. He was blitzed 7 of the 15 dropbacks. That's 47% of the time. And from all the blitzes he had, that's where he scored his touchdowns. From when he got blitzed, he's able to perform under pressure, and when he's in that pocket, when they do give him time, he's able to succeed. And the stats show they blitzed him 7 of the 15 dropbacks, and he scored when he was blitzed. Baker Mayfield obviously has found his home. He is living right with Tampa Bay, and they love him there. And he's able to perform great under pressure. I know they lost in overtime, but man, he has turned Tampa Bay around. They win a Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield wasn't great with the Browns, didn't sit well with them. Goes to Carolina. It's freaking Carolina. Goes to the Rams. Has this incredible. He gets there 2 days before a game, and learns the playbook. Probably gets no hours of sleep. Learns the playbook and gets them a win. He's clutch as well. Comes to Tampa Bay, had a fantastic season last year, got his first Pro Bowl, and he is looking like an MVP. He's playing excellent, making Chris Godwin look good, and has just been very successful with their organization. Tampa had a linebacker injured, but KJ Britt was able to prevent a touchdown from Drake London in their opening drive or one of their drives. And their defense is looking good. They are looking like a very established team, and that's why I think Falcons and Tampa Bay will be very competitive throughout the remainder of the season, especially that they're in the same division. We'll see them again play. We'll see them play again, and it's going to come down to the final weeks to see who wins this division, I believe. Two great, fantastic quarterbacks, great wide receiver cores, and overall, they're able to play great against each other. And it was one of the most exciting Thursday night games I have ever watched. But Tampa Bay, last night didn't play well defensively, even though, like I said, KJ Britt prevented a touchdown. Overall, they just didn't play well defensively. They allowed 235 yards after the catch, which was just, it's not good. I know they went up against a great squad in the Atlanta Falcons, but man, 235 yards after the catch, not good. So that's really what hurt them. Also in the final drive of before overtime, but also in overtime, when Hodge caught it and broke a tackle and zoomed into the end zone for them to win in overtime. So it just wasn't a well-established game from Tampa's defense this week. So we'll see how they will improve when they face the Falcons again. I want to move on to a more interesting and kind of flaming topic in the NFL the past few days, and that is the Davante Adams trade that is really storming right now. Davante Adams is not happy in Las Vegas, and I'm not too surprised. He joined the Raiders because he was going to be able to play with Derek Carr. They played together in college, and Derek Carr leaves a year later. And Davante Adams really hasn't looked himself since his time in Green Bay under Aaron Rodgers. And a lot of that has to do with him playing with a future Hall of Fame quarterback and him being the wide receiver one. But the Raiders now really just haven't made him look great recently. In general, the time he has been there, they have Brock Bowers now. They're really going to be using him a lot, and Davante Adams has been injured. So he's just not been very happy there. So he's wanting to find a new team. And these are some teams I'm going to name off and really go over of some possible landing spots for him. And I'm going to start with the number one choice that I think Davante Adams should go and probably will end up is the New York Jets. For one, he's playing under Aaron Rodgers again. Ever since Aaron Rodgers moved to New York to play for them, that has been an eye for Davante. He would be playing with his quarterback again, and in a team like the Jets, they really only have one good wide receiver, and that's Garrett Wilson. I mean, you have Allen Lazard, who was a Packer as well under Aaron Rodgers, but that's about it. It's like the Dallas Cowboys. You have Dak, and then you have CeeDee Lamb, and nobody really much better. I mean, Brandon Cooks, but like nobody exciting. Tampa Bay has Godwin. They have Evans. The Lions have Williams and St. Brown. The Dolphins have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The Rams have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And I could go on. There's a duo when it comes to a wide receiver core. There's always a duo, and I don't believe the Jets really have that duo. So I believe Davante Adams would be an excellent fit playing under Aaron Rodgers, and obviously he would work well with that team. And him and Garrett Wilson would be a very good duo. They would be a top 10 duo in the league, and I think Davante Adams would fit there the best. Number 2, I have the New Orleans Saints, and the number one reason for this is because maybe he would want to go play with Derek Carr. A problem with this is that the salary cap issues with the Saints, they really are wanting to rebuild, and I believe they just can't afford. They can't afford him right now, and it comes down to where Davante wants to play, and I don't think he would want to go to the Saints. It's a possibility because he would be playing. He would be playing under Derek Carr, a former teammate of his, and also they played together in college. But it's also I don't think they can afford him a price tag, and they have a tight salary cap situation going on right now. They're trying to restructure, cut ties. They're gonna have to cut ties with multiple players next season. So it just really wouldn't be a great fit for him. And I don't believe he'd want to go play with a rebuilding team in the Saints. I think he'd want to go play with a team who's already heading in some sort of good direction. And the Jets are obviously a better option. And these two teams are better options than any other team I've already named, and that's the Bills and the Ravens. A problem with that is salary cap as well. Ravens in the offseason really rebuilt their team, got Derrick Henry. They're paying a lot for their players. So if they were to get of Davante, it would be a temporary amount of time. Same with the Bills. Salary cap issues. He would only be there for a temporary amount of time, and I'm assuming Davante is wanting to have a restructured contract and stay with the team for multiple seasons and not just a temporary or limited amount of time. He's going to want to stay with the team for a long period of time and have a restructured contract, and I don't believe the Ravens or the Bills can even afford that. The Steelers are another team, and we're still running into the same issue. It's salary cap, and it's the same with the Steelers. I don't believe Adams wants to go to the Steelers. I just don't think it would be his number one choice. I mean, if it comes down to the only way to get out of Las Vegas, maybe, but it's definitely not his number one choice. 49ers are the same thing. When it comes down to salary cap and how long he will stay there for, the 49ers already have a juggernaut in an offense. You have Debo, you have Kittle, you have Ayuk. They're already paying so much money. You have Christian McCaffrey, and now Jordan Mason already looking like a franchise running back for some sort of team if it's not the 49ers. But they're already paying big bucks offensively and defensively. So their salary cap is very, very tight. So Davante Adams would be there for probably just the end of the season. So it wouldn't be the best place for him. And same with the Cowboys. That's another rumor that a place that he would go, and he would be a rental player there. And then the Cowboys are really focusing on offseason signings this year, so he would just be a rental. So the best opportunity or the best landing spot for Davante this season would be the New York Jets. He would work well with Aaron Rodgers. They aren't paying players that much, so there wouldn't be a salary cap issue, and I believe they would be able to restructure his contract. So that's the number one spot that I think Davante Adams will go, and he should be traded in the next 2 to 3 weeks. He is injured right now, so they're going to want to wait for him to become more healthy. So once he gets traded, he can play immediately. So we are going to see in the next upcoming weeks. But that is the end of the podcast. I hope y'all enjoyed. If y'all did, please make sure to share. I am loving all the views and what y'all are saying about this podcast. I'm really enjoying making them, and I can't wait to make more in the future. If you do enjoy my podcast, make sure to follow all my socials. You can see my reels or my TikToks. If you just look up Off the Ball, you will find me. Also, my Twitter, Clay Tillman, and my Instagram, Off the Ball as well. Thank y'all for listening, and I hope y'all have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time.